Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up to Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you'd say in Swedish, and we're going to taste another beer from one of the very well known Gothenburg craft breweries actually. And as I always tell you, Gothenburg is the city in Sweden when it comes to craft beer. So for this one we're going to try yet another beer from Stigbergets, and we're having a taste of their latest collaboration with Northern Monk Brewery, who are from Leeds in Yorkshire in England. This one is simply entitled DIPA and it comes in at 8% ABV. It was released through the Små Partiers in Stigbergets on the 17th of May 2019, and it was at the MBCC in Copenhagen as well from what I gather. It was quite well received, so really curious to see how this one turns out. Both breweries have a very good pedigree when it comes to the hazy New England style of IPA, so you know, very high hopes for this one and hopefully it lives up to that, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on it as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done both from Stigbergets and from Northern Monk. Hopefully I can add more to both in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you, and also one for the English beers. This beer will appear in both because it is half and half. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Stigbergets Bryggeri then. So first off, Stigbergets Bryggeri, as I mentioned to you earlier, are based in Gothenburg, and they were founded by Nils Hultkrantz and Richard Simonsson, and this pair own two bars that share the one kitchen. This is Bar Chino and the Hagebjörns Cafe, which are located on Linnégatan in the city, and both of these opened back in 2007. So originally the idea was to brew a few beers that they could sell in the bars, and this led to them kegging the beer and selling it to other pubs, and eventually to bottling the beers, which began in November of 2014. So the original beers were mainly English and German styles, but of course later on they started experimenting a little bit more with the more American style of craft beers, namely the New England IPAs. But the original head brewer was Ole Anderson, who is one of the co-owners of OO Brewing, and he's since been replaced by Barnaby Struve, who was also one of the vice presidents at Three Floyds as well. But they've gone through quite a big change actually since that era in their history. But they've also recently opened up a new brewery at Partihalarna, where they now brew 5,000 litres at a time, and they're also beginning to work on some sour beers as well. So I really look forward to trying some of the sour beers from Stigbergets too. But they also started selling their beers in 440ml cans, and this means that they'll be able to export their beers a lot more as well. From what I gather, Stigbergets are starting to make headway into America and things like that, and they're quite, you know, it is fairly easy I think in the UK now, from what the English guys are telling me, to get a hold of these beers, whereas before it was really only in Scandinavia that you could get a hold of them. But now they have a brew team of Ollie Banks, who was formerly of Beavertown in London, and also Lucas Monride, who worked for All In Brewing, one of the gypsy breweries in the Gothenburg area. So this is one of the breweries that really brought the New England IPA style to Sweden. And of course, Ole Anderson at OO Brewing, he was the mastermind behind that. So yeah, Stigbergets, probably one of the better known Swedish craft breweries today, along with the likes of Omnipojo and a couple of others. But this is one of the Swedish craft breweries that you definitely need to check out if you get the chance. They're still doing some really quite interesting stuff actually. So yeah, I would recommend my favourite beers that I've had from them. The Amazing Haze is a little bit of a Swedish classic these days. Also, the Muddle was a good one. I don't know if they actually do the Muddle anymore, and the new and improved GBG Beer Week one is a very good beer as well. The artwork actually on this can is very, very similar to the new and improved GBG Beer Week beer that they released, I think maybe about 2 years or so ago now. So yeah, check out some of the Stigbergets beers if you get the chance. They seem to be a little bit more prolific now than they were before. So as always, you can follow these guys on Facebook and Instagram. That'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the brewery itself, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. So yeah, that's all you need to know about the Swedish side of the beer and Stigbergets Bryggeri. On to Northern Monk then. So as I told you earlier, Northern Monk are based in Leeds, which is in Yorkshire in the north of of England, and they were founded back in 2013 by Russell Bissett, and apparently he started brewing in his mum's basement and then launched officially at the Sparrow Beer Cafe in Bradford. In August of 2014 they moved into the old Flax store in the city of Leeds at Marshall's Mill, and they've been working to expand their capacity and repertoire of beers ever since. But they say that they like to pay homage to the old monastic brewing in England that went on for centuries, but it's largely overlooked these days. And you know, when it comes to monastic brewing and monks brewing, everyone always thinks of the Belgian beers and the Trappist beers in particular, so no one really associates English traditional beer with the old monks brewing, but it was actually fairly prevalent for a number of centuries actually. But at the brewery, they also have the refectory, which is their bar and restaurant. It's supposed to be very nice. That's somewhere that I definitely need to check out at some point. And they currently brew over 20,000 pints of beer per week, which goes all over the world. And they also have their Patrons project as well, which is, it's a really interesting thing that most of the inventive and creative beers that you'll get from Northern Monk do come through the Patrons project. So it's basically, they bring in restaurants and other breweries and things like that and do collaborations and stuff. And this is, you know, I think they've released maybe about 100 beers or something like that within this Patrons project now. There's 2 or 3 of them every month, and they're always very, very interesting. That's where you'll get the most interesting beers actually from Northern Monk. You know, their core range is very, very good. I've had a good couple of their beers actually. The Heathen IPA was a very nice one. I reviewed that quite recently. That's they've just gone through a major kind of rebranding process at the start of 2019 as well. But I highly recommend that you check out these guys, one of the better known English craft breweries as well. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Northern Monk. If you want to learn a little bit more about them, of course you can check out the brewery website again, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on there as well. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer then. We can get rid of the brewery notes. And as I said to you, this one is an 8% New England Imperial Double, however you want to term it, IPA. So yeah, really nicely presented. The artwork on this one is, as I said, very similar to the new and improved GBG Beer Week. There on the back you can see both the Stigbergets and the Northern Monk symbol. Just let the camera focus on that, very nice. Doesn't say too much on the side here actually, doesn't really say anything. So yeah, 8% double New England style IPA. This one released, I believe, for the McKellar's Beer Celebration Copenhagen. So let's get it out and see how we get on then. Really looking forward to this actually. Look at that actually. Oh, that's a bit crazy. We just need to be careful with the head on this one, but I'm sure it'll settle down a little bit. As I said to you earlier, this is one of the beers that was released on the 17th of May 2019 through the Systembolaget Små Partiers. I think I've poured this one a little bit aggressively, to be honest with you, but I'm sure that head will calm down a little bit as we go further on. So if I hold this beer up to the light, it does actually have a nice orangey amber colour to it. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is a good level of haze to this beer, and this one's definitely more of an orangey than a yellow colour, this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. You can see the head is already starting to calm down a bit, but I would say, you know, there was a 2-finger frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one rather than perfect white. But yeah, you know, it looks pretty much as you would expect from a New England IPA. This one looks very, very good. Nothing overly surprising about this one in terms of its appearance, to be honest. It is pretty much what you would expect. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. You know, when you open this can up, you get what you expect, a nice big tropical juicy fruity aroma out of it. But let's just take a slightly closer look at this. Ooh, yeah. It's interesting that, because it's got a really lovely big juicy fruity aroma to it. There's passion fruits in there. It's got quite a little bit of a mangoey pineapple note. I wouldn't go against, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a Galaxy in this one. As I always say, I do like to play guess the hops when it comes to these beers. I think that it's Galaxy and Citra in here. I think they've gone for a fairly kind of simple malt base on this one. Yeah. It almost smells a little bit soapy, to be honest, which is kind of interesting. And I mean, yeah, there is something almost just a little bit soapy about this beer, which is kind of unusual. But yeah, lovely There's a lovely passion fruity notes to this one, maybe a little bit of pineapple qualities. That really makes me think that there is a little bit of galaxy in this one, because it's that lovely, quite strong passion fruit, but it also has the kind of snappier pineapple notes to it. You know, I've said this in a couple of videos now, but it seems to be the case that Simcoe has been replaced largely by Galaxy because it's a little bit more of a complex version. You know, Simcoe always gives you these very straight up passion fruity notes, but Galaxy gives you just a little bit more complexity, and it's kind of similar in the way to in the same way that Citra is actually. So it's worth paying attention to how that turns out. But yeah, to me this is a really nice smelling IPA. This one, it's pretty much got everything you'd expect. A little bit of mango in there as well. There is some of these lighter, kind of juicier fruity notes in it as well. The passion fruit I find is quite sharp. The pineapple's in there. There's maybe a little bit of a papaya sort of thing, an apricot or something like that, but also a little touch of mango in there too. I think this is a very straight up Citra Galaxy hopped one. This, I don't think there's anything else in that. I think they've just gone for the 2 hops in this beer, but it works out pretty nicely. On the malty side of things, yeah, I mean, you've got a little bit of a wheaty quality to this one. You can smell some of the smooth white bready notes in there. The oaty creaminess is really coming out in this one. Yeah, a nice oaty creaminess to it. A little bit of a smooth wheaty quality as well. A little bit of biscuity sweetness, to be honest, too. But you've got, on the green side of the hops, there is a nice little bit of pungency to the floral aromaticity in this one. You really get a little bit of an almost sharp lemony citric note out of this too. I mean, there could be a little bit of Centennial in here or something like that, but I doubt that, to be honest. I think it's just the floral qualities coming out of the Galaxy. The Galaxy is quite a floral hop. So yeah, the other thing it could be is Victoria's Secret, because it's quite similar to Galaxy but just a little bit toned down, but I'd be more inclined to believe that they've got Galaxy in here. But yeah, that's a really nice aroma on this beer. The green side of the hops, for me, really leans more towards the floral side of things. There is a little bit of a lighter grassy quality to the beer, but mainly it's a nice kind of almost bouncy, not juicy, pungent floral aromaticity to this one. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But this one is a very straight up but very nice smelling IPA, this one. So yeah, let's get stuck into it then and see how we go on. This is the DIPA, the double IPA, a collaboration between Stigbergets Bryggeri from Gothenburg here in Sweden and Northern Monk from Leeds in Yorkshire in England, coming in at 8% ABV. Let's get stuck into this one then. Slange, skål. Yeah, this one, I mean, it's very straight up and very drinkable. I was thinking that from the aroma that I was getting from this one would be like very, very punchy and very, very floral, but it's actually, you know, really quite smooth, to be honest with you. That's the curious thing about this beer. Yeah. This is actually, it's quite nice. It's almost a slightly sweet and smooth double IPA. Definitely one of the smoother New England ones that I've come across recently, but it's not one of the kind of thicker ones, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is nice. This, if you know, it doesn't do anything particularly surprising. It's not one of the punchier beers that I've had from either of these breweries, to be honest with you. But it's just a very nice, smooth, easy drinking double IPA. Perhaps it's a little bit too easy drinking for 8%, to be honest, but you know, you can't really knock it for that. It has to, the main thing is about the quality of the beer, and I think they have done a nice job in this, to be honest. Yeah, I like how they've pulled this beer off, to be honest. I think they've done a good job of it. But like I say, definitely not the most punchy and kind of innovative beer that you'll get from either of these brews. This one is just very, very straight up, but it's well done, and sometimes that's the route you want to take. So yeah, in the middle of your palate then, you're going to get a nice, smooth, wheaty quality there. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, you start to get some of the kind of smoother, creamy wheatiness out of the beer. oatiness rather, not wheatiness. The creamy oats just kind of sit on top of the smooth wheat character, and it's the combination of both of those that really just gives you the nice smooth easy drinking character that comes out of this beer. In the middle of your palate you get a little bit of a biscuity sweetness, which is really nice, I have to say, and that blends in really well with everything else. You know, I have to say this is definitely one of the smoother beers that I've had from either of these breweries that I can think of. It's almost got a little touch of that kind of milkshakey smoothness to it, but it's not quite as lactosey. And I don't know if that is in any way a good description, but it's, as I say, definitely one of the smoother beers, and a lot less punchy than some of the other ones that I've come across either from Stigbergets or from Northern Monk. So yeah, a little bit of a different approach to it, which is interesting, I have to say. So yeah, I like how this one kind of comes across. On the hoppy side of things, it does have a nice little bit of floral quality, but again, it really isn't what I was expecting in terms of the, you know, compared to what I got in the aroma. The back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little, very subtle hint of earthiness there, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that smooths out a little bit, and it becomes kind of spicy and floral. As we go along the sides of the tongue, and then round the very front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. So yeah, not even spicy, it's just very smooth along the sides of the palate, which is nice. Yeah, it's really just very nicely done, this one. It's as I say, it's ridiculously smooth, this beer. It's not even spicy or anything like that on the sides of the palate. You just get that nice little bit of floral aromatic quality, and it comes out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste. The beer does dry out a little bit in the middle of the palate and on the sides of your tongue the further you go into the aftertaste. You start to get a little bit more of the wheaty side of the beer in the middle of your palate, but you also get a nice kind of floral aromatic note on the side of the tongue, and that's really what lingers into the aftertaste. The fruits are very straight up in this one as well. Yeah, so as I always say, the fruity side of the beer comes out in that little oily bubble behind the very front curve of your tongue, and for me, the fruity side of this beer, it's mainly passion fruit. You do have a little bit of mango in there, but you've also got some kind of pineapple notes, the peaches and the apricot notes that I was picking up in the aroma. I think that is more of a kind of subtlety to the aroma rather than being involved in the flavour for me. At the back of that oily bubble there, passion fruit. As you come further forward, it becomes a little bit more mango, and then as you get towards the front part of the tongue, there's maybe a little touch of a kind of lemony, grassy sort of citrus coming out of this one. I don't, you know, normally the hop that they would add to a beer if they want that is a bit of Centennial, but I don't think there's Centennial in here. I think it's either straight up Galaxy, or it's a little bit of Galaxy and maybe Citra, to be honest with you. I mean, in fairness, it could be Galaxy and Centennial now that I think about it, but I think it's more likely. I'd be more willing to hedge my bets on it being Galaxy on its own than I would saying it's Galaxy and Centennial. But yeah, as I say, I always like playing guess the hops with these beers, but this one is a very nice, very smooth, easy drinking double IPA. It's a little bit dangerously drinkable for 8%, to be honest with you, but it's a nice blend of flavours, this one, but not the punchiest beer you're going to find from either of these breweries. So yeah, that's nice. I do like this one, but as I say, it's not the most innovative beer, I guess we should say, from either of these brews. It's just a nice kind of easy drinker, and it shouldn't be that easy drinking at 8%, right enough. So in terms of the mouthfeel, mid-bodied beer, this one. Carbonation is very, very smooth. The mouthfeel overall, as I said, very, very smooth, but not as creamy and as full and thick, I guess you could say, as well as some of the other New England IPAs that you're going to come across. There's a nice little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one. I think you'd be lucky to get 30 IBUs out of this. It's probably something like 20 or 25 IBUs. Malt base, very, very smooth. Little touch of sweetness from the biscuity notes in this one, but you've also got some really nice juicy fruity qualities to this beer as well. But overall, really quite nicely done, and it's a very smooth, easy drinking one. I mean, I've repeated that a few times in this video, but that's definitely the way to describe this. Not the most innovative and punchy beer you're going to find from either of these breweries, but a nice, solid, easy drinker. But at 8%, you have to be careful with this one, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. The double IPA, a collaboration between Stigbergets Bryggeri and Northern Monk. An interesting beer, this one. Cool to see both of these breweries collaborate, but not the most innovative beer you're going to find from either of them, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think if you like Galaxy and you like passion fruit and tropical fruity notes, you are going to enjoy this one. It's very just kind of straight up and a nice blend of flavours. So yeah, it's just a nice kind of easy drinker for... It's a bit strange to say that a double IPA can be a nice, easy drinker, but this one really does go down a little bit dangerously easily, to be honest with you. But yeah, let's leave it at that. The double IPA from Stigbergets here in Sweden in Gothenburg, and from Northern Monk in Leeds in Yorkshire in England. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stigbergets and from Northern Monk. No doubt I will return to both of these breweries at some point in the fairly near future, and I will catch you guys very soon with more reviews. Until the next time, Slanger just now, check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys later. The double IPA released on the 17th of May 2019 through the small partiers in Systembolaget here in Sweden, from Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg and Northern Monk from Leeds in Yorkshire in England. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys later. If you like Galaxy Hop and passion fruit, you will enjoy this one. Slanger, skål.